Today I'm going to show you 7 tips to get you working faster in Lightroom. Now, editing is a lot of fun, and it's really good to change your photos and make them look exactly how you want them to, but there are a few parts that are a little bit monotonous. So if you can speed these boring bits up, it can really help, and the quicker you are at editing, the more time you get behind your camera. Now, this first one is one that I do forget from time to time, but when my computer does start to slow down, this is the first thing I do go to, and it does normally help. You do need to be optimizing your catalog around about once a month. So to do this, click on File and Optimize Catalog. It may take a while, but it's well worth doing, and you will see a speed increase in your Lightroom workflow. So remember, optimize your catalog at least once a month, even if you have to set a date in your calendar. When I'm importing my images, I'll change the build previews to embedded and sidecar. This will give you a slightly slower import time, but when you're in your library module, once the images are all there, this is when you'll really notice the difference. What it basically does is use those previews that were already created in your camera. So when you scrub through your images just in the library module, things will be a lot quicker. So when I first get my images into Lightroom, I like to use the star rating system, and I'll basically rate them on how I think they look. And what I'll tend to do is use the cursors and the number system, so I'll press anywhere between 1 and 5, depending on how good the image is. And when you do set this preview, you'll find that scrubbing through in the library module will become a lot quicker and a lot more efficient. Now, one downside is that you won't be able to zoom in to your image in the library mode. To do this, switch to the Develop module. This is a little bit annoying, but the speed increase in the library module when rating your images is well worth it. And also, I've got another little bonus tip. If you are scrubbing through in this library module, you can also slide 2 fingers on the trackpad left or right, and this will quickly scrub through your images. This is especially good if you've been shooting sports in burst mode. You can quickly locate the shot that you like and the shot that really looks the best by literally sliding the 2 fingers left or right. So if you have an image where you want to change a specific part of that image, say grass in the background or say a shirt or something like that, you may think to go over to Photoshop for this, but you can actually do it in Lightroom. So make sure you are in the Develop module, come down to the HSL panel where you have all of these sliders, and then instead of changing each color slider that you think would match up, click on this little circle in the left top corner, and then go over to your image, click and hold on the color that you want to change, and then drag your mouse or the trackpad up or down. This will then change the colors that are in that part of the image that you clicked on. This works in all HSL tabs, so luminance, saturation, and hue. This is especially good if that color really stands out from everything else. Then you can really change that color to exactly how you want it. Say if you've been shooting in aperture priority mode, your shutter speed may move around quite a bit, especially if you're shooting towards the sun and then away from the sun and back towards the sun again. Now, if you want to match the exposure in these images, there is a setting called Match Total Exposure. So select the images you want to match, click Settings, and then click on Match Total Exposure. What this will do is match the exposure between each shot regardless of the individual settings. The way I used to do this was to use sync settings. But the problem with this is if you change those first settings in the image and sync them across everything, if your settings are changing, when you do sync them, you may see a lot of differences between these images. With Match Total Exposure, it actually makes the images look the same instead of just changing numbers on sliding scales. So you may know that you can double click on each slider name to reset it. But if you do this whilst holding down the Shift button, Lightroom will put in what it thinks that setting should be. This is almost like an auto button for each individual slider. And this can teach you a lot about what Lightroom thinks the settings should be compared to what you think the settings should be. But just remember, after doing this, you can put the slider exactly where you want it. Sometimes you just want to look at your image without any distractions, and you may already know about hitting the F button to get your image as a full screen preview. But if you just want to dim the background, click L. This will dim everything around it, and then if you click it a second time, the background will go completely black. This can just remove all of those distractions around the image that might be getting in the way, and you can sit back and just focus on the image itself to see what needs doing to it. To change the amount of dimming in that first image, click on Lightroom, Preference and Interface. There you can change the background color and the amount of dimming in that first click. I just keep it on 80% as this seems to be a nice level for that first click. And remember, on the second click, everything will go black anyway, so you have those two options. And if you want to get back to the normal screen, just press it a third time. Sometimes when you're in an editing frenzy, you might get carried away with your sliders. If this does happen, you may not even remember what the original image looked like. So it's always good to have a quick way of looking at the original image. To do this, click on \. It's the same on both Mac and PC. If you press it quickly, it will stay on until you press it again. If you press and hold it, it will stay on until you let it go. Now let me know in the comments below if you have any other tips to speed up your Lightroom workflow. I know there are a lot of tips out there, so it'll be great to get a pool of information and then we could all learn off each other. And if you want to learn more about editing in Lightroom, click on this next video over here. And for some Photoshop tips, click on this video down here. And if you haven't already, give us a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe and turn on notifications for weekly tutorials on everything photography. I'll see you next time.